Everyone to check your cell phone and either turn it off or put it on airplane mode or turn it down or whatever you need to do. And I would invite our newest county board member, Frank Dickerson, from the northeastern part of our county, to lead us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will quorum, and I would invite a motion to allow County Board Member Valerie Duclos to participate.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Okay, very good. We now go to our public speakers. And is David Mahaney here? Yes. David, if you could please come forward. And these steps are steep, so if you could please be careful, use the handrail. Take your time. And what we do is, you're allowed 3 minutes, and what I will do is sound the gavel at 2.5, and that'll tell you that you've got 30 seconds. If you've got notes, you can leave those here at the front desk, and they will be made part of the record.
Good evening. Mr. Chairman and members of the Madison County Board. Mr. Chairman and members of the Madison County Board, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak this evening. Excuse me. 20 years. That's how long it takes for a plastic bag to decompose. This decomposition generates microplastics and nanoplastics that remain in the environment virtually forever. On top of this environmental contamination, the citizens must look at disgusting trash every day they travel Madison County roadways. I spoke before this board on December 15, 2022, at which time I expressed concern regarding several issues associated with Roxanne landfill. Since that time of my initial public comment, a social media grassroots effort has emerged that has identified several other issues related to the Roxanne landfill, of which litter and odor are current primary focus. Some local members have contacted Madison County board members, the zoning department, area law enforcement, IEPA, landfill management, and the hauling companies to discuss the litter issue. This outcry has brought the problem to the attention of multiple government agencies. It is my understanding that after I spoke, 2 closed-door meetings were held to discuss the trash on the roadways. My question is this: has any tangible action taken place, or potential correctable actions been recommended? We are hopeful that during the new business session to hear these actions. The community has taken action. Citizens have picked up trash along the roadways leading to the landfill. The result of their actions have been quite noticeable and are to be commended. However, the efforts of these citizens should not be considered the final solution. We have an expectation of hauling companies to ensure their loads to the landfill are secure and to clean those containers and cleaning those containers to ensure trash is not blowing out after leaving the facility as required by landfill permits. The odor issue remains a cause for concern and continues to affect residences surrounding the landfill. Due to the number of complaints being received by the county and the EPA, no doubt there is an increased awareness of this problem. Hopefully a long-term solution to this issue can be determined. It is our understanding that tonight the board will discuss environmental grants derived landfill hosting fees to various environmental projects. An interesting example is Roxanne Parks getting $11,757 for the swimming pool filtration system. Roxanne receives $1.6 million of its own landfill hosting fees, in addition to the over $1 million received by the county. Our concern is that direct impacts landfill operations such as litter and odor do not get any additional monies for these landfill generated fees. The citizens of Madison County are looking to the
Thank you,
board
Mr.
and
Mahaney.
other elected officials.
You can feel free to, you can leave that here with the county clerk, and that can be made part of the record. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I would like to take a break from the public comments. I was reminded by Sheriff Connor that we should observe a moment of silence for the murder of Herman, Missouri police officer Sergeant Mays in Griffith. So if I could ask everyone to stand and observe a moment of silence. Thank you. Next is Russ Wheat in the audience this evening. Mr. Wheat, you can use the handrail. You don't want anybody tumbling all the way down. I think you've been here before, you know the rules, 3 minutes.
This is my first time.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. I can't begin to tell you in 3 minutes everything I've learned in the past month or so, so I'm not even going to try. I'll give you a handout, got some information, my contact number on there. If you really want to try and solve this problem, you can want to reach out to me. I've tried to reach out to a number of you board members and no one's responded. Well, Terry responded back. So, and Victor, I'm sorry for Victor and a few others, but what I want to talk about tonight is the fact I couldn't help but think when you're getting that picture of your board, this group together, that this is actually historic because the trash has never been this bad in the history of Madison County. And this board, it sits firmly on your shoulders. So I want to see if I can do something done about it. And it insults me that I have to come and talk to you people about it, this, because you drive down the same road, you see everything that I see, and yet nothing gets done. You know, I talked to IDOT, I talked to Highway Department, Madison County, Roxanne. I've talked to just about everybody I can, which brought me here. But I think we could solve this problem just by putting a lot of emphasis on the permit. These trucks, if they are not going to adhere to our wishes and they're going to violate and pollute our neighborhoods, we need to restrict their permits, withhold those permits, revoke them. We start putting a squeeze on those permits and they can't drive the trucks on here. And believe me, that'll stop a lot of that trash and stuff coming through the neighborhood. Another thing is the contract. I tried looking up the contract on this whole thing about trucks delivering the trash over here, and it's my understanding that we don't have a contract. They're operating off a Missouri contract, and that which is something I put a FOIA request in for this, but I haven't got the information back yet. So I'm asking the board to take a look at this contract, see if we can put some emphasis on it. I talked to Michelle at EPA, and she told me that the last agreement they had was signed in 2000, and that in her opinion that it needs to be renegotiated. So I've got plenty of contact information. I've talked to EPA. If you really want to do your job and help out this community and get off this being the worst board as far as the trash in Madison County history, reach out to me and I'll be willing to help whatever I can do. I picked up over 1,500 pounds of trash, about 30 bags, my own contractor bags, because I don't feel the bags the county is providing are very good. So, and I've got to become personally good friends with the guy at IDOT who comes out and picks up these bags. So there's a lot of things we can be done, but I don't feel it's getting done. So let's do a better job.
Thank you, Mr. Wade. Next, we have David Stouffer. David Stouffer in the audience. Yes, Mr. Stouffer. Please use the handrail. Take your time.
Again, my name is David Stover. I'm here with the Illinois Separation Referendum, and I know I've been here before, and I will be back again. 3 minutes isn't a lot of time. For the media who's out there, the last name is Stopher. Some numbers and some facts and figures that were brought up to me after the last board meeting about the amount of tax money that Cook County contributes to downstate Illinois. The Illinois gross domestic product is $722 billion. Cook County's gross domestic product is 300 of that. They are the largest gross domestic product in the state of Illinois. County is currently number 7 with approximately $12.7 billion of gross domestic product. Where those numbers come in default, Cook County's debt is over $80 billion of the $159 billion for the state. You have 500 plus educators in the public schools of the city of Chicago that are being paid between $200,000 and $440,000. These are not superintendents. These are the teachers who are teaching K through 12. You have small town managers are contributing to the debt. Some of their salaries. Some things that really jumped out to me in the reports that I read. Barbers for the city of Chicago and the jails make $104,000 per year. Cook County, Chicago Transit Authority, $143,000 per year for a bus driver. Their highest paid bus driver, $242,000 per year for a bus driver for public transit. And we wonder why our state's going broke. The Illinois separation referendum to clarify what we are trying to do. We are not trying to secede from the state of Illinois. We are trying to give Madison County a seat at the table. For the 27 other counties now, we've added 1 county since the last time I appeared before you. This grassroots movement is catching fire. It is starting to burn hot through southern Illinois. We want a seat at the table. All we're asking for with the information that we're collecting is for the board to place us on the ballot. And I know that cannot be done until November. To have Madison County be able to put a representative with these other counties. 27 right now. There's 102 in Illinois. If you do the math, that's over 25%. We're a quarter of the way there. I've been collecting signatures for 2.5 weeks. I personally have collected almost 400 signatures. I have not done a public appearance. I have not set up a booth at a county fair, fireman's picnic, or any other public event. This is just word of mouth. Hey, Dave, I heard you had those petitions. I got my family all wants to sign. Just want to make sure that the board is aware.
Thank you, Mr. Stover. Next, is John Kraft in the audience?
Yes.
Kraft, please take your time. I see you're using the handrail. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm John Kraft. Before I start what I was going to say, the first speaker mentioned closed meetings to discuss a letter. I don't remember he said that. It's closed door meetings to discuss a letter. If that happened, I don't remember reading that provision in the Open Meetings Act. So let's talk about the sanitary district and the appointments to the sanitary district board. I'm going to suggest that the chairman and this board unappoint every person that they appoint to that board who has received or is receiving any type of health insurance paid for by the sanitary district. I'm assuming everybody that's an elected official here has a 3rd or 4th grade education at least. So I'm going to read section 3.4 of the Sanitary District Act. Commissioners shall be paid the same salaries as the county board members from either St. Clair or Madison County, whichever is lower. So Madison County is lower, $15,000 a year, I think is how much you get paid. $14,459. $14,450. So those board members should get $14,450. They should get $14,450 plus $10,000 or $20,000 worth of health insurance. That's not what the Act says. They're not authorized any of that. I'm urging the chairman and the board to immediately demand they cease all health insurance. And if any of them board members stayed on there long enough to maybe participated in IMRF and are now retired from the sanitary district and maybe getting health insurance through their retirement plan paid for by the not right. You need to demand some change, and it's only right to the taxpayers of the sanitary district. It's black and white. The lower of the two counties. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Kirk Allen?
Thank you, Chairman. Kirk Allen, I'm the co-founder of Ector County Watchdogs. First and foremost, from an organizational standpoint, our goal is local government accountability. Transparency is key with that. Communication comes with that. I beg this board to take steps to increase your public comment time to 5 minutes. We've had the first three speakers all did not have enough time to share what they wanted to share with you. And I don't believe, and I haven't come to all your meetings, I've watched several of them, but I don't believe there's that big of a time difference that a couple extra minutes to your speakers is really going to impact you. And I think it would be appreciated by the public at large. I spent last month, fortunately, traveling. Went to Texas, went through Arkansas, stayed with some military friends of mine. And there was a common theme that coincidentally was brought up here tonight. It was litter. I don't know what the source of your litter is. I don't know if it's the vehicles or the trucks transporting it. I have no idea. But I have found out, both from Will County and lower parts of Cook County, some up in DuPage County, in Little Rock, Arkansas, and just outside the Dallas Metroplex, they have a massive litter problem. And it's increased terribly in the last year. There's a common denominator, folks. And I know folks aren't going to want to talk about it or they're going to be upset that I'm going to talk about it. But when you bring a society of people from other countries that don't have the same cultural upbringing, and I witnessed this in Terre Haute, Indiana, at the mall, a Homeland Security bus full of immigrants that were taken into the mall, and they came out after their shopping, and not 5 feet from them was a garbage can. And I watched them open stuff up and throw the paper right there on the floor. You're dealing with a culture thing. And that same thing was identified in Little Rock by some officials down there that we talked to, or that I talked to. And the locals that we talked to in the Dallas area said the same thing. There's trash everywhere. And if you follow where we have a large influx of immigrants, we're finding this very problem. So it may be an educational problem for some of those folks. I'm not casting dispersions on it. It's a culture thing. Some of those people come from countries that don't know what a trash can is. And I've traveled the world, and that is true. You would think, oh, that can't be, but trust me, it is. So you may have a secondary problem. So before we cast dispersions on the truck drivers that may or may not be doing it, let's identify what the real source is. And that may be the source, I don't know. But I do know we're identifying that we have other issues there with people just throwing stuff down. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Arnold. Next, if we could go to the approval of the minutes from the February 15th meeting, any corrections or comments or hearing none, let the record show that the minutes are approved. We do have a committee change to remove Paul Nicolussi from District 23 from the Grants Committee and add him to the Central Services Committee. If I could have a motion. We have a motion, second. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. And now, Mr. Madison, if we would go to you, please bring in the resolutions from the Building and Zoning Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, fellow board members. The Building and Zoning Committee has eight. Oh, I would like to bring A and B in together, if that's okay. They have 8 items for your consideration, which passed in committee unanimously. Item 1, zoning resolution Z23 0001, 0012, 0013, 0014, 0015, a resolution authorizing the demolition of unsafe buildings and structures, and along with the Grants Committee, a resolution authorizing environmental grants fiscal year 2023, and a resolution to authorize Green Schools program funding for fiscal year 2023. Thank you.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call. carries 23-0. Next, if we could go to Mr. Chris Guy. Mr. Guy, if you could please bring in the items from the Finance Committee.
Finance and Government Operations Committee got 4 items that were passed unanimous at the Finance Committee. Number 1, Claims and Transfers Report. Item 2, FY 2023 Immediate Emergency Appropriation for the Circuit Court 2023 Illinois Court Technology Modernization Program, in the amount of $40,373.17. Item 3, Resolution Authorizing Settlement for Workers' Compensation Claim, file number 220914W004. And item 4, the Property Trustee Report. Move to their adoption.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call. 23-0, motion carries. Next to you, Ms. Pace, if on behalf of the Government Relations Committee, if you could please bring in the items.
Tonight, committee, we have 4 appointments that we need to, that were passed unanimously within the committee. First is for the Madison County Health Advisory Committee. We have Laura Burton for reappointment to a 3-year term. Her new term would expire on April 3rd, 2023. Laura DeLuca, also up for reappointment for a new term of 3 years. Her new term would also expire April 3rd, 2026. And Richard Quayle up for a new appointment. It's a 3-year term, replacing Paul Malfrett. New term expires April 3rd, 2026. Also for appointments, Madison County Park and Recreation Grant Commission, Vic Valentine, for reappointment to a new 3-year term. His expiration date will be December 26, 2025. Again, these all passed unanimously within the committee and move for their adoption. Thank you.
Very good. Would anyone like any of these to be considered separately? Hearing none, roll call. 23-0, motion carries. Ms. Weihart, on behalf of the Grants Committee, if you could please bring in the items.
Yes, we have the Grants Committee. Is it okay to bring E and F in together, or do we need to separate those out?
You can bring those together.
Okay, Grants Committee has 3 resolutions for you tonight. Resolution authorizing a substantial amendment to the fiscal year 2021 annual action plan. Resolution authorizing the submission of the 2023 weatherization grant program application for the County of Madison, Illinois. Resolution authorizing a technical assistance contract with Moran Economic Development, and they all passed unanimously in committee.
Very good. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call. 23-0, motion carries. Mr. Bagnon, on behalf of the Judiciary Committee, if you could please bring in the resolution.
Yes, Chairman, thank you. Resolution to renew the Clericus Magnus, E-Magnus Light, DR, and E-Magnus Child for license and maintenance agreements for 3 years from Madison County Circuit Court.
Any comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call.
23-0.
Motion carries 23-0. Mr. Gray is not here this evening, so Mr. Guy, if you could please bring in the item from the Personnel Committee.
We have 1 item for your consideration from the Personnel and Labor Relations Committee and the Finance and Government Operations Committee. This did pass unanimous at our Personnel and Labor Relations Committee last week. This was also an item that was postponed to the County Board last month. So item 1 is a resolution to award a contract for professional services for leadership training for the Madison County Personnel Department, which was, again, that was postponed last month, February 15th, 2023, County Board meeting. If you recall, this is for leadership training in the amount of $94,374.
questions? Yes, Ms. Page.
I don't see the paperwork for this in here, maybe I'm just missing it, but is this, if we pass this tonight, does this still give the vendor half upfront?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It actually, and actually I talked with council about this. As I see it as the authorization go up to. I will go to the vendor. Obviously, what the board would allow me to do is to talk to the vendor. We would look at hard costs, and they would then discuss any sort of upfront costs that they might have along those lines, like there's software licensing, things like that. So those would be some of the things we do. This is not that uncommon for training. Actually, our third-party administrative workers' comp training is $140,000 a year. We pay them 50% upfront. Local gov, we pay 100% upfront. We also pay the know before you go. Know before you go. We pay them 100% upfront. It's not an uncommon thing, but I will make sure that we talk to the provider and and not exceed that, or perhaps even go below. But they're going to have to show us.
Any other comments or questions? Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I
Mr.
have
Paul,
a question about this as well. I feel that 94,000 seems a little steep for this. Now, maybe I'm missing something here, but I don't see anything detailed really of what the county is getting for this. I see in here that it costs over 94,000, and that we will have to give over 51,000 right off the bat, which you just described. But I've heard that there's 45 members of the county that will get this training, and what type of training are they receiving for close to 100 grand?
Go ahead. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is for our leaders, so this will be our leadership training. There are 45 individuals identified. Many of these are directors or deputy directors. It is a very robust leadership training. It's a monthly training. There is online work that we'll have to do. There is individual training. There's in-person training. There'll be cohort training. It's a 12-month process. It's very, very intense. It's something that we here in the county have never tried. However, the federal government, they do this. Private sector does this. It's a way that we can really have a cultural shift. We really want to make sure that we are creating leaders that are being innovative and that are pushing down to their teams and communicating their teams the ability to be leaders in their space. The hope is that if we get good, strong leaders that can communicate, then our team members will then do a better job of communicating to the public and have better public interactions. So the hope is that we'll keep ourselves, we'll be able to avoid, we get drawn into lawsuits where we have poor communications. We want to eradicate that. And then also we want to make sure that our interactions with the public are better and more innovative. And really the only way we can do that is just really creating a better environment. And I've gone through these types of trainings at the federal government, the state government, and then the private sector, and it does yield that. It's not easy, and I don't think any one of our managers, or including myself, it's not an easy program, but wow, you do gain a lot when it's all said and done. It's a good investment.
Very good. Any other questions or comments? Yes, Mr. Nicolosi.
I read into this training, Dave can correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I thought it was pretty impressive. As someone who comes from the private sector, there's SOPs and workflows that set things up, and we can transition from employees better. They can come in, use this system to know their job right away. They'll save the company, or I'm sorry, not the company, county, tons of time and money having a system set up like this. I'm really surprised we don't have it already.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Palmero. Did you have something more to say?
Yeah, I would just like to add to this, and I also have done type of training like this, both corporate, federal, DOD, Homeland Security, and I guess I'm just not fully sold that for this amount of money, there's not maybe a less expensive way to go about this. Is there anything else besides the California place for 143 that we have since the last meeting?
that we can compare with the company across the river?
You want to discuss the bidding then?
So, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Member Fowler, we put it out for RFP. Once it goes out for RFP, it's whoever responds to us. And that's all we can do. If we believe that the RFP process wasn't correct, I guess that we have to scrap it and start over again. Sometimes we just don't get a lot of providers. We did reach out to a lot of providers and tried to encourage them to be, to participate. Many just didn't have interest.
And we don't feel that any online, just doing our own research in an online company for, say, a lot less money or even possibly free would not be acceptable still?
There's not an online, to get that type of communications, I don't know an online.
Very good. Yeah, Mr. Dickerson and then Mr. Madison. Go ahead, Mr. Dickerson.
I just want to make it clear that, one, I support this, and the reason why I do is I've experienced it. And when you're talking about less than $1,700 invested in your people, that all trickles down, and the dignity, respect that is created with leadership training and all that, we will be a much better community of people, if you will, within the county, and I really do think it will pay for itself. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Madison.
Thank you. Yeah, I want everyone to consider the travel expenses for training 45 people. If we sent 45 people in a year to train with fuel costs, hotel costs, all of it, not to mention the cost of the training, I would think it would be pretty expensive. I know my wife works for the Air Force. She takes leadership training every year. This is a one-time thing. It would get all of our leaders at one time, which I think is a good thing. Now, somebody says, well, what happens if this person can't do this, or someone leaves? What about the next person? Well, that may be individual training. But we'll also have a plan in place with an SOP, with operational procedures that are standard for them to look at. Oh, this is my job. I do this, I do this, I do this, I do this. This is where everything is. These are the forms I need to fill out. And that's a big plus that we're going to develop in this training that I'm not sure that everybody realizes. If you think it's necessary, we can bring our HR director, Andrew Esping, down to give you a good explanation of why he's doing it.
I would also,
Would anyone like that?
I agree with Nick about I've been leadership now. That it's going to be off-site, correct?
On-site.
No, on-site, it will be on-site. All right, so there's no travel or any of that?
Right.
Okay, good. That's the answer to my question. Thank you.
Would anyone like Mr. Esping to come down and do a further explanation? No. Okay, Mr. Madison, are you suggesting this is a more green alternative?
Sure. If you want to go that way.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call. Motion carries 18-5. Next, Mr. Aker, could you please bring the resolution on behalf of the resolutions on behalf of the Public Safety Committee?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On behalf of the Public Safety Committee, ETSB, and Finance and Government Operations Committee, I have two items for your consideration. Number one, resolution to renew the annual World CAD maintenance and PACE 05 training contract for Madison County 911 Emergency Telephone Safety Board. The second item is resolution authorizing and renew the agreement with the American Environmental for updating Madison County's multi-jurisdictional all hazards mitigation plan.
Thank you. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call. Motion carries 23-0. Next to you, Mr. Ross, on behalf of the Transportation Committee, please bring in the items.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, can I bring it in item K&L?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Stockborough.
The transportation report for that 20 years is very complete, very interesting. I grew up on a farm, and I'm addressing this basically as a question to the country roads. When I was a kid, the average farm size is 160 acres, so on every section, you had at least 4 families with a house, barn, tool shed, corn crib, and, a lot of stuff sitting on the land. You drive through a farm area now, and those are gone. There's probably 1 family for every 4 sections, so it's been quite a reversal. It seems strange, but is there a possibility to reduce the maintenance cost on country roads, that those could be privatized by giving them to the contiguous farmers?
Well, I think that's something you could bring up with our county engineer. Certainly, something like that is not on the agenda, but I think it's a topic you could bring up with our county engineer after the meeting. So, any other comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call. Motion carries 23-0. Next, I would like to turn to Ms. Pace on behalf of go to the Board of Health meeting. And if you could please bring in the Board of Health minutes and the other items in the Board of Health.
Yes. Thank you, Chairman. We need the approval of the December 21st, 2022 Board of Health minutes, along with the monthly activities report to be placed on file.
Need a roll call for that. All in favor? Next, Ms. Pace, if you could bring in the resolution.
Sure. We have a resolution to purchase one 2022 model year F-250 for the Madison County Animal Care and Control Department. We also have a resolution to approve 1-year vet import entry data service fees for the Chameleon License Processing Solutions for the Madison County Animal Care and Control Department, both passed in committee as well.
Thank you. Any comments or questions on those 2 resolutions? Hearing none, roll call. Motion carried 23-0. Now that finishes with the Board of Health, so now we're back in the county board meeting. Any unfinished business before the county board?
You want to say something?
Yes, Mr. Babcock.
There has, so the comment was made up here that there's been closed door sessions regarding the trash. Chris Duclaff has worked diligently recently, brought a panel of many people together, including this Illinois State Police, including several sheriff's officers around here. It is a complicated problem, there's no doubt about it, and we all on this board agree with the 3 people that got up here and talked about the trash that's on our streets. And we do want to do something about it. We are limited to some level, and you just have to be in the meetings to understand how difficult it is to coordinate this effort. But we are all in agreement that the trash in our area needs to get picked up. And again, I want to compliment Chris Duclaff for bringing that group together, but it doesn't end there at a group meeting. It just begins there, and then we have to coordinate on getting this stuff off our fences, off our streets, and off our state highways that unfortunately we do not control. Illinois State Police control it, and that is complicated to get on these highways and be safe. So for the 3 people that came up here, your comments are heard by every board member here. And we want to do something about it. And don't think that we're not trying to take any action. We are trying to take action. And we're not being lazy at it, I promise you.
Thank you, Mr. Babcock. Mr. Aker.
Thank you, Mr.
I'm sorry, Mr. Akers first.
We have been addressing this pretty regular, me and you and Dave. There has been, IDOT has had crews out on between Route 3 and 203 and
and they've done a very good job. There's a lot of trash out there. Michael Turner can attest to that. He was one of them out there picking it up. He's one of our new board members. We are working hard, and we did have a meeting a couple weeks ago in which Mr. Wheat stayed in with us. It wasn't a closed meeting. Anybody could have came to. So as far as the closed part of it, there wasn't nothing behind the doors or anything. It was open to anybody that wanted to come. We are working on trying to get more of this cleaned up. We need some help from the Transportation Committee to pass some money that we have to help clean this up. Folks, we just got to get it cleaned up first, and then we got to figure out a way to stop it. Or at least trash is always going to be along the side of the roads. It's always going to be there. But we have to figure out a way to get these trucks to put something over the top. I've got an idea that I'm going to call and talk to the MBI guy about. But it's just more to it than. And I understand Rusty Wheat and all you guys' concerns. I mean, you're down there living amongst it, and I really feel sorry for you. And like Mike said, Mr. Babcock, we are trying to do some things. It just takes time, but we are working on it and trying very hard.
Thank you, Mr. Aker. Yes, Mr. Schmidt and Mr. Madison.
Transportation Committee meeting this month, we explored this, used a lot of our time talking about this issue. And everyone on the committee was very concerned about how to pay for it and who is at fault by the larger extent. And so I wanted the people who have been moving on this, citizens, to know that it's not laying somewhere not noticed.
Yes, Mr. Madison?
Thank you, Chairman. I want everybody to understand there's a little bit of a difference between the closed and the public meeting. If it was a public meeting, it would be a scheduled committee meeting made up of a certain number of board members, which would constitute a public meeting under the Illinois Open Meetings Act. If it's a meeting with a board member or two, which we can always have, and you can have it with other members of county employees or staff, that's not considered a public meeting. That doesn't mean it's a closed door meeting, just to make that clear for anyone who hasn't studied like the Open Meetings Act like we've all had to. But I also want everybody to understand, if they haven't noticed, a lot of trash pickup has been taking place.
Yes.
The people involved in this conversation on the landfill end and the vehicle end of this, they've been hearing everyone talking, and they are taking action. I've seen it myself as I drive down the road. I've heard from people that work at IDOT. So there's been a lot of pickup being taken place. Unfortunately, it's an ongoing problem. It's going to take ongoing action. I appreciate the citizens that have stepped up and picked up trash. That's a big help. I appreciate that Chris Duclef and zoning has made trash pickup kits available to people that want to go out with groups and pick up trash, like with bags and grabbers, so you don't have to bend over to pick up the trash and things like that. So we are doing things, and we're not having closed door meetings, just so everyone knows.
Thank you, Mr. Madison. Mr. Aker, back to you.
Somebody asked about the money, where it would come from. We do receive some money from the landfill, and as far as for cleaning it up, that is what we're going to try to use to clean this up. Like I said, it's got to be cleaned up first, and then we got to figure out a way to minimize this from happening again.
Very good, thank you. These are all great. Yes, Mr. Needler.
Yeah, what I noticed, there's some 255 the other day. I guess it's kind of a good thing and a bad thing, but I asked Mr. Turner, the fencing and those junky weed trees that create there, and it catches it, but I'm sure it's so labor intensive to pick it up. It's like, to be neat, there's just no way to get it. It's nice that it catches it, but.
Mr. Turner, would you like to respond? Come on.
Well, picking up trash on the side of the road is one thing. The trees that catch the trash, that's a whole other, that takes equipment and all sorts of stuff. You gotta tear the fence down, re-put up another fence. A lot of employees, a lot of time and money, I guess, involved in that. The state's been picking up for the last 2 weeks on 270 mostly. I think a little bit on 255 as well. There's still a lot of work that needs to get done.
Thank you, Mr. Aker.
Sorry to keep talking, but you can't lay it all on the guys that work for IDOT. I mean, our governor has only made it where they're only allowed to mow along the interstates 3 times a year. And that's not near enough. If you mow your own grass, I mean, you know it gets long and high in that amount of time. The trash gets caught in it. It does make it worse. Like you said, it is more labor intense. But we gotta come up with something, guys.
We gotta keep the trash in the trucks.
Yes. Amen.
I think we all agree on this one, and I really appreciate everyone's input, and I appreciate all input from citizens, and you are always welcome. We're going to stay on this. So any new business before the board? Yes, Mr. Stockborough.
Sorry to continue the old project, but coming out of the judicial system, people are given penalties of community service. Is that something that community service could be trash pickup?
I think we can talk about it after the meeting. It is one thing on interstate highways, a lot of fast-moving traffic. It's something that is really a danger issue. We can talk about that. That's an interesting idea. Any other new business before the board? Hearing none, we do have a request to go to closed session pursuant to sections 2C11 and 12 of the Illinois Meetings Act to discuss pending litigation, and if necessary, 2C3 of the Open Meetings Act to consider, well, I don't think that's not, so regarding litigation, we would like to go to closed session. Yes, so I would entertain a motion to go into closed session. So moved. Motion. I can already have a motion. All in favor of going to closed session? Aye. All right. Thank you, everyone.
Will there be action after the closed session?
I don't know, but I don't think so.